welcome. My name is John Walcott, as you probably know, and I'm the director of the Acting Conservatory here at the Orange County School of the Arts. And it is my great pleasure to have all of you join us today for this masterclass featuring students from both the Acting Conservatory and Integrated Arts. Today's event is part of our 5th annual Master Arts Series. This series brings together acclaimed artists and industry professionals to OSHA to work with our very talented students, as you know, building their skills, providing inspiration and guidance for their future. This year, we have an incredible list of visiting guest artists. I'm sure you've seen these coming, including Tony Award-winning actress Stephanie J. Block, trailblazing ballerina Misty Copeland, Academy Award-winning screenwriter Kevin Wilmot. Last week we had Anna Devere Smith here. So it's a really, really wonderful, exciting series. And we're deeply grateful to our sponsors for supporting OSHA and always standing by us and helping us to provide our students with these incredible opportunities, and for helping to make today's masterclass possible. I'm very excited to introduce an actor that I truly, truly love. Mr. John Michael Higgins will be hosting a performance workshop today featuring 5 students from acting and integrated arts. He's a classically trained actor and a voice actor and a singer, and his credits are as long as you could possibly imagine, film and stage, best known probably for his roles in the Christopher Guest mockumentaries, and of course, Pitch Perfect. During the course of the masterclass, students, everyone, you're all encouraged to ask questions via the chat function in the Zoom. So I hope you'll think of questions. We're going to introduce him in a second here, and then he'll work with 5 of our students, and then we'll have a little Q&A at the end. So without any further ado, as they say, it is my great pleasure to introduce a man who has starred on Broadway. He starred off Broadway. He starred at the Mark Taper Forum. He's a stage actor, a stage director. He is a TV star for many, many years. He's a singer. He's a movie star with a long list of films. You probably know Pitch Perfect and A Mighty Wind and Best in Show and Fun with Dick and Jane, Evan Almighty. He's also a star of animation and voiceovers and video games, and he does commercials. Okay, I'll stop here. Otherwise, I'll take the whole hour. It gives me great pleasure to introduce someone you're just gonna love, Mr. John Michael Higgins. Bring him on in. Yay, there he is, he's here.
Hi, folks. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome, Michael. It's such a great thrill to have you here. Maybe start off by just telling us a little bit about how you got started. I think I remember hearing you went to Amherst in Massachusetts, and how did this long and winding, wonderful road happen?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me, all of you. I really appreciate it. I have kids myself at the SGV version of your school, and I love your school. I love what you do here, and the conservatory that you guys are doing right now. It will be an enormous building block for your career if you end up going forward in show business. I can tell you that right now. I'll be more specific about it, hopefully a little later in the masterclass. But I was an actor when I was your age. I had already become a professional actor by the time I was certainly in high school, but I was entirely a stage actor. I didn't do film or television at all until I was in my mid-30s. And then that really became most of my career. I hadn't done a whole lot of stage after that, which is too bad because what's the language you use now? I identify as a stage actor. That is what I am. I am trained that way, and it is my strong suit, which is odd because I don't do it as much as film and television now. But that's life in this career as well. The career pushes you around in funny ways. You can't quite, make a lot of plans. You can have dreams and you can shoot for things, but you also have to be an incredibly pliant and improvisational person. Not just in my work turns out to have a lot of improv in it, and I don't think it's a mistake. I've lasted a long time because I'm willing to go down new roads and bend, and that's really what it takes. The good news is for you that you are getting your feet wet in a number of different arenas of performing, and not just performing, but writing and creating things like stage sets or dancing or any of these things. These all play, as they say, in a stage rehearsal. Does it play? All of this plays. The reason I'm still working as an actor at 57, when I started when I was 13, is because I have skills which were developed laboriously over many years. I'm still developing my skills. But I can walk into a room for an audition or out onto a stage or in front of a camera with confidence because I have a great toolbox at my disposal. And that sets one's mind at ease if you're an actor. And for instance, I almost, when Ocsa asked me to do this masterclass, I almost turned them down when the pandemic showed up, because my feeling is that acting is an almost entirely physical endeavor. The audience cannot read your mind. They can watch something. They can watch your body in space. And that goes for dancers as well. It's not true of writers, but any writer would tell you that they're mostly showing the audience, showing their readers things rather than telling their readers things. I started as a mime, and I know that's sort of a joke now, a guy with white on his face going like this. And bad mime is a joke, but mime, strangely, is the only skill that I use in every single one of my jobs other than voiceover, which obviously it wouldn't work great in voiceovers. But mime is the most important skill I ever learned, and it's because it's entirely physical. If you want the audience to read your mind, you have to, as T.S. Eliot said, make an objective correlative. You have to do something that shows your mind. You can't think your mind. They can't hear you. You can't be a tree. You have to show the audience a tree by showing them three things that equal a tree, So that's a little obscure, but basically, I do want to put this up. I made a little chart here, which will be useful, I think, as we go along. This is a show and tell chart, and it's very easy to fill in the chart as we go along. This side is the things that actors want to lean on, and this side is the thing that actors want to go lightly with. Tread lightly. Use caution. Okay. Anyway, I was a stage actor for a long time, and in New York and all over the country, I performed in a lot of regional theaters, doing mostly classical theater. Eventually, I got into film and television when certain jobs pushed me in that direction. And strangely, a job I did for HBO, which is where I played a comedian. I played David Letterman in a movie for HBO a long time ago. And strangely, the town treated me as if I was a comedian because I played a comedian. And I was a stage actor at the time. And I was doing mostly Shakespeare, Shaw, Sheridan, classics, the Greeks. But strangely, Hollywood took to me, but as a comedian. And it wasn't even my gig. I was like, well, okay, yeah, comedy's fun, but it's not my thing, And that really is all I've been doing since that moment in Hollywood. I've done some dramas. They show up every now and then, but for the most part, the buyers, as they say, buy me as a comedian, and I'm a safe buy. No one's going to get fired if they hire me to be funny, because I've proven that I was funny in previous shows, right? Which is to say, often the business will start to define you, and that's okay, but know that it's happening, and work within it, and then find your ways to push out of it if you even want to. So, which is to say, all acting careers are surprises. I don't know any of my colleagues who wouldn't say, this is not what I thought I was going to be doing. And I'm certainly one of them. But I will say that, again, my longevity in the career is, as John was telling you, is I put myself on a very rangy base. I am now doing all different media. I have there's no status or class distinctions for me between the media. Stage, streaming, cartoons, children's theater, classics, comedies, film, they're all the same to me. And they all demand a certain similarities of a state of mind. And I think by the end of this chart will end up telling you a lot of the way I've stayed in the business. But what I'd like to do now, let me throw out an opening here for any questions about like my background or anything like that need to be clarified, or if there's a question, John.
Yeah, Michael, we have one already from excuse me, from Josh.
Yeah.
Josh wants to know what kind of video games. Obviously he's a gamer.
Mm-hmm. Well, video games, I don't do a whole lot of, but I've done a few. I was surprised. I did a session once. I didn't even know what it was, and I came in and I did this thing. They're odd video games because you'll go in and then you'll have a stapled packet with 25 pages where I'm saying things like, follow me, or look out, or say, what's that? And these are brief little punches where I'm just going through, and the designers, the builders, place them into the apparatus of the video game, depending on where the player goes. So they have to have 100 billion things ready for what. And I had no idea. This was the early days of video game. I thought this is never going to last. And now, when I left the job, I had read in the New York Times on the front page that the thing that I made, which was Halo 2, was the largest selling object in history. That is, it had sold more items than anything in history.
Wow.
The Model T. I just thought, good God,
Wow.
I really, really misunderstood this. So
that's like your first movie being Titanic.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
Very close. This world is very close to the voiceover and animation world, isn't it? Those skills.
Yes, very similar. Although strangely, there is a bit of a how should I say it? There's some kind of a wall between them professionally. I'm not sure why. I do a lot of cartoon. I do a lot of animation, and the wall between animation and video gaming is strangely not so permeable, and I can't quite figure it out why. I'll ask a friend of mine who does gamings, but it's just sort of a club. Things, clubs whip up in Hollywood, and
right.
You're either in that club or you're not quite.
You're in that Christopher Guest club, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
That's a nice club. How did that happen?
Well, actually, the movie I mentioned earlier, where I played David Letterman, I improvised a lot in that movie, and Ed Begley, who's one of the other actors who's in the Christopher Guest Club, Christopher was looking for a person to play a gay character, but he didn't want it right on the nose, the way gay characters had been played for many years, not very interestingly. And he had already done it. He had just done a gay character in his previous film, which was Waiting for Guffman.
Right.
And he didn't want to do it again because he wanted to do something else. And Ed said, well, I just worked for this kid from New York. I was a kid at the time. Who was a very strong, is a strong improviser, at least I was on the set on that movie. And he says, I think this guy might be able to figure something out about showing us a new version of a gay character as opposed to a stereotyped one. And it's interesting because, so Chris ended up hiring, strangely, Chris is an unusual person, Chris Gass. He totally trusts his actors. So he just hired me, because Ed said I would be good. And it was very strange. Wow. Yeah. So you don't find that often in the business, but Christopher is a very unusual character. So, and then it just goes on from there. He likes to use the same people, not because he's scared of other actors, but because he doesn't have to do a learning curve with them. We don't shoot, there's not a lot of money in these movies. We can't go on and on shooting. We shoot them in 30 days. And if you can't get a scene going improvisationally within 2 takes, the scene's gonna get cut, and we're just gonna move on because we don't have time. So he needs people to hit the ground running and to not be afraid of the improv. Or let's say this, to have the improv be fruitful, productive improv.
And you did some singing or some musical arrangements, I seem to remember, from A Mighty Wind, one of those movies, right? So you have some kind of musical background too?
Yes, it's really an avocation. Some people collect stamps. I have been writing vocal arrangements since I was young, high school. I don't know why. It calms me down or something. So I have, in my professional career, ended up doing some of that as well. I've written vocal arrangements for certainly for Mighty Wind and the Breakup, that movie I did some, and Schitt's Creek I've done a few, and The Office. Every now and then it'll show up. I always say, oh, leave it to a professional, but it's more fun to hire somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, I think.
Right. One question that's come up, and then we'll start working with one of the students. What made you start acting? You said you started at a very young age, and one of our students, Maddie, would like to know how, and you can take this in any direction you want, how has acting impacted your life and made you kind of the guy you are?
That's a really good question. I'm sure some of you watching will recognize this maneuver that happened inside of me. Perhaps it happened inside of you or something like it. There was a kind of proclivity right away when I was very young to be able to walk into a room or stand in front of people and to tell a story, or the need to make people smile or laugh. And it's something that I did naturally. There was no one in my family who did it. My parents were surprised and befuddled, I think. Thankfully, I had really great parents who looked at it and said, this is what he is, so maybe we should see if there's an outlet for this. And then they sort of enrolled me in children's theater, or then they sent me to some classes and stuff. Again, these are not stage parents. No one's singing, sing out, baby June. None of that was happening. But they were sort of looking at me and saying, well, this is what he digs. So let's let him do it until he doesn't dig it anymore. And eventually, I started playing juvenile roles on stage in regular theater, productions with adults in it. So there's a wonderful old play, 1,000 Clowns. You should look at it one day. They made a movie of it, which is about a guy in New York, and he ends up living with his nephew, who's only 13 years old, and in New York City, and they live a very unconventional life. It's a wonderful play. It was my first professional production with these professional actors. And that's who I was surrounding myself with all the time, these professional actors. I watched them very, very closely. I did become interested. And I would say, to Maddie's question, it's now hard for me to separate my instincts as an actor and my instincts as a person. Mm-hmm. I have I don't have a great need anymore to walk into a room and entertain people or to make them laugh or tell jokes. But I am attracted to narrative and stories, to tell stories in real time, to unfold things, which drives some of the people in my life crazy because they say, just say it, you know. But this is not what I do. I do this, and that has become a natural part of my character. So,
Great.
yeah.
Great. You want to take a couple more questions now, or you want to work on a little Amadeus?
Sure. Let's do a monologue, and that will spur some other thoughts, perhaps.
All right. So we're going to bring in Sam Matthews, who is a senior in the acting conservatory, and he's working on Mozart from Amadeus.
Love it. That's great.
Sam, where are you? There you are, you handsome devil.
Hey, Sam.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. I love this play, and I can't wait to see what you do with it. There's so many things to say about this play if you're an actor. But let's hear some of that language, Sam, from the play, so people can get a little used to it.
Oh, just like
No, just do your speech, and we'll just you'll be teaching us what this type of play does.
okay. Wait, so like just say them all.
Yeah, just do your monologue, just as you like.
I don't understand you. You're all up on perches, but that doesn't hide your arseholes. If you're honest, each one of you, which one of you is more with your hairdresser than Hercules? Or your stupid Danaeus Air Salieri? Come to that! Or mine. Idiomanio, king of crates, they're all bores. Bores. All operas written this century are boring. Look at us, 4 gaping mouths. What a lovely quartet. I'd love to read it just this now, right in time. Just now, as you are. Herr Chamberlain thinking. Impertinent Mozart. I must speak to the Emperor at once. Herr Prefect thinking. Ignorant Mozart. What can he finally know about music? Herr Court Composer thinking. German Mozart. Debasing opera with such vulgarity. And then there's Mozart in the middle thinking, I'm just a good fellow. Why do they all disapprove of me? That's why opera is important, Baron. A dramatic poet would have to put all those thoughts down one after another to represent this very second in time. A composer could write down all those thoughts one after another and still make us hear each one of them. Astonishing device. A vocal quartet. A quartet, becoming a quintet, becoming a sextet, on and on and on, wider and wider and wider, to create a sound entirely new. I bet you that's how God sees the world. Millions of sound ascending and mixing in his ear to create an unending music. That's our job. We composers to combine the inner minds of him and him and him and him and her and her and the chambermaids and the court composers to combine the audience into God.
Bravo. Thanks, Sam. Great work. You have really captured a lot of this very, very interesting character. And I do like the way you distinguished all of the men in front of you. You actually put them in their vocal parts. You weren't down for the bass, you were up for the tenor. That's really beautifully done. And you were very clear. I could understand everything, which is unusual for people who don't do it all the time. So well done. And I think you did capture a lot of the spirit of the play. There's a lot of fun in what you're doing. I'm so glad you started this particular play because it's a great place to start when we're talking about the things that work in monologues. The character of Mozart in the Peter Schaeffer play, I believe, is that Peter Schaeffer's attempt to capture what it is to be an artist and what it mostly is in his estimation, and as evidenced by this monologue, is constant discovery. It's endless discovery as opposed to affirming things that already exist. Things that Mozart comes across are brand new. He makes them up right in front of you. Now, Peter Schaeffer would say, okay, this is an interesting play because Mozart is the first person to put a quartet, a vocal quartet on stage, or a quintet, or a sextet, those things that you say toward the end of the monologue. But Schaeffer is a dramatist, primarily. He doesn't tell you this. He doesn't just say, Mozart's the first one. He sat down at his desk one morning and he said, how do I dramatize this? How do I make them see? How do I show the audience that how it happened for the very first time? It had never happened on earth before this monologue, right? All of it is new, all of it. Everything Mozart says is a discovery that delights him. Before the monologue, he has nothing. By the end of the monologue, he's got 45 things that he just learned. He's not teaching them, he's learning himself. And this is very important in a monologue. Monologues are watching a process, not telling us a conclusion, not affirming something we already know. They're the process of making a discovery in order to show us something. So, what I'd love for you to do is give me the very front of this speech. We're just going to do the first little bit of it, maybe 5 lines or 4 lines. And rather than having an attitude towards the men, here's another one. Hold on. You don't have an attitude, a prearranged attitude. You started the monologue by having a very distinct attitude towards these guys. You seem to be angry with them. I would say, in general, as a default mode, all attitudes should be bright, open, and positive until they change, right? Your need is what makes you speak. Here's something I will, generalizations are always dangerous, but I'll say this. All monologues are about the same thing. They are a character who is compelled to speak out loud. A character is compelled to speak out loud. Otherwise, they won't speak. Otherwise, they'll just think the thoughts. But in a monologue, something happens, and the character has to speak out loud. That goes for every monologue we're about to watch today. What is it that makes Mozart speak out loud, as opposed to thinking these thoughts? What is he doing to these men? If he's doing anything to men, maybe he's just doing it to himself. Why does it have to be out loud? These are thoughts that play all the time in a monologue. So let's start again, just the front of it. And I want you to start as an experiment, as sort of an acting experiment. I'll give you the first one. I think the first line is, I don't understand you.
Yeah.
It's not a rhetorical question. You don't have the answer. It is a literal question. I don't understand you. Help me to understand you. You are going to walk them through understanding. Be open and find all of it, okay? Because suddenly the speech is going to start rushing at you. And Mozart is trying to keep up with his speech rather than throwing it in their faces. He is surprised by his own speech all the time. It's tricky. And it's a very tricky speech to choose first, Sam, because there's no subtext in this speech. Most acting has he says this, but oh, he's really worried about that. And that will certainly be in these later speeches, not in Mozart, not in this monologue, not in this character. He's very Shakespearean. He says exactly what he thinks. There's no subtext. It's hard to do. But so when he says, I don't understand you, that's a problem to be solved. He literally doesn't understand them, and he needs to understand them. That's why he says it, okay? That's a lot of talk, but it's just, I'm gonna lay these groundworks, okay? Let's just try the front of the speech again, Sam, and try to find each comment that you make. You don't be in a hurry, don't worry, this is not a performance, it's an experiment. And find it all as discovery. Everything that happens while you're telling the speech is happening for you for the first time. And no attitude. Don't give an attitude towards them. They're not interesting to you. You are interesting. The thoughts that are invading you are interesting to you, okay? They're standing there and they're going to be your victims. You're going to make them into a quartet eventually because you need them. You need them. Okay? So let's try it again, Sam, just the front of it.
I don't understand you. You're all up on perches, but that doesn't hide your arseholes. If you're honest, which one of you is more with his hairdresser than Hercules? Or your stupid Danaus, Hair Salieri, come to that. Or mine. Idiomenio, king of crates. They're all bores. Bores.
Good, hold up there. Excellent. That's really good, Sam. That's the beginning of a process. I could watch things changing on you. That's what we need to see. The audience has to watch change. I said all monologues are about a character who is compelled to speak out loud. All monologues can be titled, Something Happened. Something happened, something changed. And that change, that happening, happens in the monologue. It goes from here and it ends up somewhere else. Something changes. Let's go back one more time. Just the front of it. Again, that was very good, Sam. So what happens is he says, if you're honest, right? And he sees now, what you have to do is see all four of them. Each one, again, Mozart's trying to keep up with with what God is sending into his head. If you're honest, each one of you, which one, this is a real question, which one of you would really be more at home with Hercules than you would be with your hairdresser? Why are we talking about Hercules? Hercules isn't a part of our world. This is another great Mozart innovation, which Peter Schaeffer is talking about. He put regular people on stage. The barber of Seville. It's a barber, not a king. It's not Idomeneo, a Greek king or any of these people, the king of Crete, They're just people. And you need to find out, Sam, as Mozart, what is it that why would you rather spend time with Idomeneo than with a hairdresser who's so much more interesting? Because they can tell you, that they can talk to you. And Mozart puts them on stage and has them sing to the audience. The audience goes, oh, that's me. I know me. That person, oh, he does just what I do in that situation. Which is why operas are boring, right? So all of these discoveries are what this speech is about. And they have to come to you new for the first time while you're watching them. One more time, Sam, same bit.
I don't understand you.
Yes.
You're all up on perches, but that doesn't hide your arseholes. If you're honest, each one of you.
Look at them all.
Which one of you is more with his hairdresser than Hercules? Or your stupid Danaeus, hair Salieri, come to that. Or mine.
Yeah, stop right there. Stop. Hold on. Beautiful, Sam. That was great. Here's a big moment. This is a change. This is what I'm talking about. This is the change. Or me. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 people who are doing something that I don't understand. And there's another person in the room, and it's me. I don't understand what I'm doing. I wrote an opera about Idomeneo. Why did I do that? How could I do that? I'm not even interested in that, right? So what the audience sees is a person right away who is wondering, questioning, how does it work? Why do these people do, and why am I doing that? It's me. It's not them. It's me. That's why Peter Schaefer writes, mine. He repeats it. My God, it's a discovery. Okay.
Hey,
So
Michael, I'm going to interject. We've got
Yeah.
about like 1 minute to move on to the next student.
Perfect.
Great,
So
thank you.
Sam, one more time. You're doing beautifully. I love what you're doing. It's great.
I don't understand you.
Yeah.
You're all perches, but that doesn't hide your arseholes. If you're all honest, each one of you, which one of you, is more with his hairdresser than Hercules? Or your stupid Danaeus, hair Salieri, come to that. Or mine, Idomeneo, king of crates. They're all bores. Bores. Oh my God, wait, sorry.
That's okay. That was perfect. That was great, Sam. Thank you so much for your work. You have really done great stuff with this. You've worked hard on this, and it does show. And I appreciate you letting me push you around like that. But a little round of applause for Sam, please.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Great, Sam. Great job.
Michael, I have a quick question for you
Yeah.
before we go on to Daisy. You mentioned early on that mime was such a big influence on your life, and you use it over and over in your work. You can see that Sam also is a very physical actor, but that's not typical for young actors who are working on monologues. They sometimes have trouble using their bodies. What might be your advice to in a situation like that?
That's a great question. And I have noticed that also. I can't overstate this, the importance of your body on stage. And I do a lot of film and television. You would think that it's that I have now divorced myself from my body, that the camera is sort of right up my nose, and all I have to do is think sad, and the audience will feel sad. None of that is true. Certainly on stage, your body is, it's a cliche, but it is your instrument. And how well you play your instrument has to do with your treatment of it, your practice of it, and your attitude toward your instrument. Great actors have an aura, and almost quite literal, or I don't know if they make this toy anymore. You know, it's a toy where it's like a face with iron filings around it, and you move the magnet around, and you can make a mustache and stuff like that. They probably don't make that toy anymore. I must sound like 1,000 years old. But great actors can move the iron filings around their body like a magnet. They can push energy forward. It's storytelling is done with your elbows, with your knees, with your toes. I can do as much with my knee in the proper place to push the story along as I can with an angry tirade. Because that's how audiences work. They got the whole picture. They're not watching you with their eyes shut. I always said a great performance, you could turn the sound off and get it 100%. Also, you could probably turn your eyes off. You could shut your eyes and get it almost 100%. You have to have both cylinders firing. Your placement of your body in space gives an incredible amount of information to the audience, more than you know. And that's what I learned from mine. Sam obviously was used his body beautifully. The openness in which he made the space quite large.
Mm-hmm.
He's acting like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's made this. He's really, that does a lot of things. It invites the audience toward you. Look, low status. When you're playing a low status character, you pull your shoulders in, you go. Low status people bend, they kneel before kings. Kings are high status people. They sit broadly on the throne, you know, and the energy moves all off their body, all across the room in all different ways. And then once you realize this, when you control that, you can tell lots of interesting stories with just what you do with your body, like an accordion. It opens, it closes, it shuts over here and it opens over there. Looking over here sends the energy over there, right? Magicians know this, and they do that too. Talk to a magician. He'll tell you, he's doing a card trick. He's using his knees, okay? That's how important the body is in storytelling. And Sam was really quite sophisticated with his body.
Great answer. Thank you. Next, we're going to bring up Daisy No, who's an 11th grader from Integrated Arts and a fine young actress. Daisy, come on over.
Hey, Daisy. Hi.
It's great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. What are you doing today?
I am performing a monologue from The Burn. It's by Philip Dawkins, and it's in the role of Tara.
Love it. Go ahead.
Oh my God, wait, no. I get it. No, I totally get it. Okay, because, like in the olden times, like with the Pilgrims and Pocahontas and all of that, like in the time of the Crucible, okay, so everyone was all about being terrified of witches, right? So like if something bad happened to you, like your kid got measles or your pumpkin crop died or whatever, everyone would be like, oh shit, it's witches. So if you just didn't like someone, you could just accuse them of being a witch and, that was it. Boom, witch, busted. And, since everyone in America at the time was basically a religious fascist, the way that they tested to see if you were a witch or not was to full on set you on fire. I'm not kidding. To see if you burned. Supposedly, if you didn't burn, it meant that you were a witch. And I guess they were like, great, she's a witch. Now what? But if you did burn, and this is where it gets all kinds of crazy. If you did burn, they'd be like, oh, well, I guess she was just a regular human after all. Sorry, not sorry. And it's like, of course they all burned. Because P.S., there's no such thing as witches, a-holes. So congratulations or whatever. You discovered who she really was. But you also killed her.
Bravo, Daisy. Well done. Okay, this is an interesting speech because the writer has kind of put you on the hook.
Yes.
He starts with the epiphany. Okay? Generally, in drama, you want to save the epiphany for the end. You want to build the blocks and then put the roof on.
Right.
You start with the roof, which means you have to build the house under the roof. Tricky.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let me compliment you a few things. The opening moment is beautiful, and it's very much, as I was saying, this stuff. I got the sense that you didn't know what was going to happen. I got the sense that you were working through something, and that will hook in me or any audience member like that. The minute you're in trouble, I'm interested. Hold on, I lost my pen. Here. Trouble versus ease. I don't know if you can read this. Ease is something that you must earn. It's very difficult to earn it on stage. The audience doesn't want it. They didn't come here for it. They came to see a problem. They came to see someone in trouble. Epiphanies, a great dramatist will use very sparingly. There will only be one, and it will be very, very much prepared for, because it's cheating. It's releasing a whole bunch of tension that hasn't been created. If you don't respond to a work of art, a song, a dance, a monologue, it's generally because the performer is releasing tension that he has failed to create, and you don't buy it.
Mhm.
He's faking it. You can smell it like liquor on their breath, the audience. Daisy, you couldn't have done it better, the front of this. It can't be done better. Then what happens is you have quite a long process of constant, once again, discovery. It's very much what Sam was up against. All of this is now full discovery mode. What the question is, what I have, and it's a real question, I'm not being rhetorical. I couldn't figure out what the epiphany was. I couldn't figure out, and it's not your fault, I couldn't figure out what she discovered.
Mhm.
Is it that, the people who inquire end up killing what they inquire? I'm not, or there's 100 different possibilities. Why is it that if you test for a witch and you kill the person who isn't the witch? That's something for you to answer and have running in your head. I don't know if you know the answer to that. I'm not going to put you on the spot and make you answer, because it actually isn't quite as important as the ideas that I need to see you in trouble.
Okay.
For the rest of the speech. Again, you're starting with your breakthrough, and then the speech is now an upside down speech. So as an actor, and this happens all the time, Daisy, I do it all the time in my work, where I get a speech and gosh, I wish this line were at the end of the speech and instead of the beginning. Happens all the time. So you must hold on to whatever that discovery is at the top of the speech and let it dribble through the rest of the speech. The rest of the speech has to be as much a discovery and as a landmine field as the top was. It's tricky, but I think you have very good instincts as an actor. I think you'll be able to figure something out. Let's watch it again.
And just to clarify, so when you're talking about like making the discovery kind of drip downward,
Yeah.
does that translate directly to energy, or is that more intention?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think you're going. I actually, having watched you, I will trust you as an actor. I think you'll feel certain things. What you must feel is that you can't know anything.
Yeah.
That's why you're speaking out loud. You have to speak out loud to understand what you're feeling.
Right.
You can't make sense of it until it comes out of your mouth. Many people do that. I'm doing it right now. So let's try it again. Let's just see how that changes things.
Okay. Oh my God, wait, no. I get it. Wait, totally get it. Okay, because like in the olden days, like with the Pilgrims and Pocahontas and whatever, like in the time of the Crucible. Okay, so everyone was all about being terrified of witches, right? So if something bad happened to you, like your kid got measles or your pumpkin crop died or whatever, everyone would be like, oh shit, it's witches. So if you just didn't like someone, you could just accuse them of being a witch, and that was it. Boom, witch busted. And since everyone in America at the time was basically a religious fascist, the way that they tested to see if you were a witch or not was to full on set you on fire. I'm not kidding. To see if you burned. Supposedly, if you didn't burn, it meant that you were a witch. And I guess they were like, great, she's a witch. Now what? But if you did burn, this is where it gets all kinds of crazy. If you did burn, they'd be like, oh, well, I guess she was just a regular human after all. Sorry, not sorry. And it's like, of course they all burned. Because, P.S., there's no such thing as witches. A-holes. So congratulations or whatever. You discovered who she really was, but you also killed her.
Great, that's much better. Thank you, Daisy. Let me ask you to do one more thing. I'm going to have you start at great, she's a witch. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
And really what you're going to be doing now, and you're literally going to do it, is finish this. The speech doesn't finish with you also killed her. It actually moves into the first line of the monologue. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Now, one little thing. I want you to find, this is an important concept. Let me just have one moment on this. Hold on. What I wrote is inside, outside. It doesn't really fit on this. It doesn't make sense on this chart, but often in monologues, you're really just flipping a switch back and forth, and it's an on and off switch. You go inside, you go outside. Watch. Today, when I drove out here on the 210, there was a little bit of traffic. Strangely, the traffic was heavier than it usually was. Anyway, I got off my exit, and there was a guy at the end of the exit, but he, never mind. And I turned left. I usually turn right, but I turned left because I had forgotten that I needed gas. Definitely have to get gas after this. Okay? You watch me flip and flop. Inside, outside, inside, outside. What you need to do, Daisy, this speech will really light up when you can start injecting those flips.
Right.
Some of it is for you, some of it is for us, whoever us is. I'm not sure if it's another student or whoever it is. But let's do that last paragraph. If you see if they see you burn, supposedly you didn't burn, etc. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do that, and just so two things I want you to do. One is find places where you can flip inside, this is for you,
Mm-hmm.
and outside, this is for me.
Okay.
One is for Michael, one is for Daisy, okay? And then move, and it's where it's going is to the first sentence of your speech. Just move it toward that, okay? And go ahead and say it. So let's start at that spot, whatever. If they see you burn, supposedly, yeah.
To see if you burned. Supposedly, if you didn't burn, it meant that you were a witch. And, I guess they were like, great, she's a witch, now what? But if you did burn, they'd be like, oh, well, I guess she was just a regular human after all. Sorry, not sorry. And it's like, of course they all burned. Because, P.S., there's no such thing as witches, a-holes. So congratulations or whatever. You discovered who she really was. But you also killed her. And then sorry, did you want me to keep going?
Yeah. Just move into the front of the speech. That was great. Do that again. Let's just start at great, she's a witch. And what was really good is that a lot of these thoughts I saw for the first time. Right. Because you saw them for the first time. That's what I need, okay?
To see if you burned. supposedly if you didn't burn, it meant that you're a witch. And I guess they were like, great, she's a witch. Now what? But if you did burn, they'd be like, oh, well, I guess she was just a regular human after all. Sorry, not sorry. And it's like, of course they all burned. Because, P.S., there's no such thing as witches, a-holes. So congratulations or whatever. You discovered who she really was, but you also killed her. Oh my God, wait, no. I got it. I totally get it.
There
Okay,
you go. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you see,
Michael, we got about 1 more minute with Daisy. I hate
Great.
to interrupt you. I just want to make sure we got time.
Oh,
for the
no,
other
I'm glad.
thing.
Yeah, you got to beat me up about this.
Okay.
I'll do this all day. So that was really, really well done, Daisy. And so now, Daisy, you have quite a lot of facility, which is good. I'm throwing these crazy left turns at you, but again, it really is a matter of having that facility, though. These left turns are they are the things that the audience holds on to for their own interest, to pull them toward the story. It's why I was able to tell stories when I was a little kid in the living room. I used hooks to drag people in and drag them behind me, right? One of the best hooks is trouble.
Mhm.
Characters are in trouble. And it's not a small thing for them. It's a big thing for them. What happens? You leave the small things out of the drama. They don't show up in plays, the small problems. The big problems do. And they should be respected as big problems, right?
Mhm.
It's interesting because sometimes the smaller the speech, content-wise, a speech like you would find in Beckett, where they're literally talking about cutting their fingernails or something, becomes enormous. And that's when theater is really exciting, when suddenly things start to matter to the character. Will they even get through this speech? Or will they be driven mad? Or will they start crying? Or will they this, or will they that, right? That's why the audience is watching. What's going to happen to this person while they go down the journey of these words? All right, great job, Daisy.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful work.
Well done, Daisy. Grab some water, Michael, and I'll bring up Sasha. And while Sasha's coming up, Michael, I want to ask you, this is so inspiring for everybody at a time when, your friends, my friends, all of us are kind of at home mostly without work. And I was wondering, when someone looks at your career, they go, wow, he started working when he was really young and he's never stopped. Did you ever hit a rough patch where you doubted yourself? And when that happened, how did you find inspiration and motivation? Because that's what a lot of actors and students are dealing with right now.
Right. It's the big problem with having a career in show business, and certainly as an actor. Although everybody I know who's in it has these problems that you just described. You become, first of all, you have a very good relationship with failure. Failure will be very much a part of your life. You must develop a productive relationship with failure, because you are really going to be stuck in the same car a lot of the times. You're going to be driving long trips to the airport together with nothing to say to each other. So you got to work up a relationship. And look, I learned much more about acting from being in bad plays than from being in good plays.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned more about acting by not working than working. Strange. It sounds like a terrible paradox. It is. But really what happened is when I'm not working, you start to wonder, why am I doing this at all? What's the point?
Good.
Then what happens is you become more alive to the things that Mozart is experiencing in that first speech that Sam did, which is, wait a minute. It could be that creativity is surrounding me, crowding me with things, ideas, things that push forward all the time. This stupid chair in front of me, this pair of sunglasses, they are feeding me they're showing me things. They're showing me information that I can incorporate. I can make this part of my self, and with that self, I can talk to an audience. I can give that to them. And again, if you do it in such a way that you have these sorts of things to ride on, no audience will be uninterested, even if you're talking about your sunglasses. It's never the content. This is another paradox.
Mm-hmm.
The content of plays is not nearly as important as the action of plays. We are not called describers. We're called actors. We do things. We move around. We make things happen. We don't stop and tell the audience what we did. We do things. And that's all we do. The audience will feel what they feel. So if you are not working, or you're in a bad play that's not going well, these things will start to reveal themselves to you. They will start to crowd you and say, you're saying, I can't do an acting thing. I don't want to be an actor anymore. It's a pain and it hurts too much. And I didn't get the last 7 jobs that I auditioned for. Then you move on to the next 4 hours where life is still showing you things and you are still wondering, oh, I could do something with that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to see actually if you're gainfully employed. The big problems I've had, John, interestingly, are when I'm really working, like I have a bunch of jobs right now, and I'm not thinking these thoughts, and I'm wrong not to. I have become too much at ease.
Oh, I love that.
The story is not being told anymore, right?
You're so Chekhovian.
Yeah. And speaking of Chekhov.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You are. That's a great segue into the Three Sisters, isn't it?
Yes,
I think probably it's safe for me to say that most of us with any kind of a classical background love Chekhov for the very reasons you just described.
That's it. That's Chekhov in a nutshell.
Okay, let's bring in Sasha Hertel. She's in 10th grade and she's going to do a little Three Sisters. Hi, Sasha.
Hi.
Hi, Sasha.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you.
You got a great name for Chekhov. I'm glad.
Thank you.
All right, so you're doing Three Sisters. Who are you doing?
Yeah, so I will be doing one of Natasha's monologues from the Three Sisters.
Oh, Natasha.
Yes.
Heavy. All right, let's see it.
Okay. Andy, what are you doing? Oh, you're reading. Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to see if the lamps were lit. They're not lit. Tonight's the carnival and the maid's all in a tizzy. You've got to keep an extra eye on her to make sure that nothing happens, okay? You know, last night I was in the living room at around midnight and I saw this candle burning, but still never figured out who did it. You know, Olga and Irina are still out. Haven't come home yet. Those poor girls. All they do is work and work. Olga at the Board of Education, Irina at the postal office. You know, I told your sister, I said, Irina, you've got to start taking care of yourself, honey. But as you know, she never listens. The people from the carnival are supposed to be coming today. I don't think they better, Andy. You know, I'm a bit worried about Bobik. I think he may be a little bit sick. Yesterday he was cold and today he's warm all over. I just get so worried. Well, all the same, I'll start him on a diet. You know, when I look at him when he wakes up and he smiles at me and he laughs. Hello, Bobby. Hello, little one. You know, babies really do know exactly what's going on. They really do, Andy. I'm just going to tell the people from the carnival that they... I told them to order you yogurt for supper. Doctor says if you don't eat your yogurt, you're not going to lose that weight. Well, maybe because Bowick's getting a bit sick, we can move him into a separate room until the weather comes. Arena's room sounds perfect. Nice, son, just until the weather comes. And then we can tell her and Olga and Arena can move. Doesn't even matter, she's not even here during the day anyway. She just sleeps here. Andy, how come you never talk to me? Thank you.
Bravo. Well done, Sasha. Well done. Boy, I really, I loved how many things you showed us. You know, you first of all, you didn't rush, which is something young actors do quite a lot. And it really paid benefits in this particular speech. I think another, and your clarity is excellent. I do like the, one thing that you're quite good at, which is quite good for Chekhov actually, is you can do abrupt transitions. And those can actually be played up even more, I think, for your particular performance. I don't have many gripes with it, but if I were directing it, which I'm not, I'm actually using your monologues, you guys, in order to expound on various generalities about acting. I'm not your director, and maybe you have a real director for that and all that, but I would probably speed it up, and I'll tell you why. Chekhov writes, I think 3 times in your speech, I'm worried. She says, I'm worried 3 or 4 times, I think. She literally says it, which is unusual because it is, sorry, can you, my pen's kind of dying here. That says verb and adjective. You wanna, when you get on the stage, you wanna do verbs. You wanna be a verb and you don't wanna do an adjective. And Chekhov has you saying 3 times an adjective. This is a label that you put on somebody. Oh, she's worried. Worried doesn't mean anything. You can say she's a spoiled child and it doesn't mean anything. She's just someone with needs. She's someone with needs that aren't getting met. That's what a worried person is. Thank you. And you can't play worried. You can play your needs, but you can't play worried because you don't play attitudes or adjectives. You play verbs, you play things, you play acts. So Chekhov is thinking, this girl's worried, young woman. I'm going to make her say it 3 times. What's she worried about? She's worried about the baby. What else might she be worried about? I think a large locomotive driving through this scene is a very, very, very important concept on the stage, which is this. This is a bad one. I had a black one, but maybe you can't read. Hold on. The word is status. All interactions are status interactions, all of them. I'm not kidding. I'm high status right now. I'm speaking, I'm using periods. You are listening. You are deferring to me. You are giving status. I am taking status. I am the high status character in this room, this virtual room. Natasha tells a status story. There's a great line, all stories are status stories. It's stolen from all novels or class novels. That was a 19th century idea. That's not necessarily true anymore because class means something else than it does in the old days. But all stories are certainly status stories. Great dramatists are people who can ingeniously reveal status and change status. All scenes are scenes in which somebody's status has been changed. Charlie Chaplin will walk up to someone who's much more high status than he is, a policeman, and playing low status with his body, generally, like I was talking before, he will actually, by the end of the scene, have higher status interactionally than the policeman. We are delighted by this. We laugh. A comedian is someone who gets paid to lower status, either his own status or someone else's. Does some of this make sense? You're not in the room with me. I can't see you nodding, but or not, and as the case may be. Natasha is from a lower class than the three sisters are. She has invaded the home and has won by various techniques. She is now in the top of the second act, living in the house that should be theirs. Andre's house, Andy's house. She's holding status. She won. But she must maintain status. So, by the end of the speech, she has removed Olga's bedroom. Strangely, Olga has to sleep in the wherever she put her, in the little girl's room or something. She has shut the party down, right? The party that's going to come tonight. Mm-hmm. These are giant status moves. Bang, bang, bang. Because they're so awful and bare and naked, you pretty much don't need to play them. The audience will get it. You don't need to show an attitude of status. Let the text do it. The text will do it for you. What you need to do, Sasha, is play the problem. If you've already got all the status and you can move people around, cancel parties, move people's bedrooms, what's the problem? Why are you speaking out loud? It's really an interesting scene because it's a scene about speaking out loud. The other guy doesn't speak. He won't talk. And at the end you say, why won't you talk out loud? I have to, because I can't get my problem solved otherwise.
Michael, we got like 3 more minutes with Sasha so we can get Riley in next.
So, these other things that you're doing, I would say the baby is the speech. You're worried about the baby because you're not confident about the baby. You're confident about all these other things.
Yeah.
And so you are covering you're covering your unconfidence with whatever thing you have confidence of. They didn't like the candles. You got to watch these people. Why do you have to watch them? Because they're just like you. You know what servants are. You're one yourself. This is the big secret. You're acting like the queen of the castle, and you're just a servant. How did you get here? You're in the wrong class to be running this household. The girls, the three sisters are the class above you. How did this happen? Well, I'll take it. I'll take it, God damn it. But that doesn't solve my problem. My problem is I don't know how to have a baby. I'm going to screw it up. The baby's going to die. All right? Mm-hmm. So enter the scene one more time. Actually, I'm going to take your prop away. Put the baby down. The baby will be in one room. Yeah, the baby will be in one room off stage, and Andy will be on the other side. Mm-hmm. And then you have the window, which is great. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we just watch her. Chekhov makes us watch someone who is worried. He shows us worry. He doesn't tell us. He will, well, he tells us. He tells us 3 times, but he will dramatize it. And the way to dramatize it is to have her doing too many things, because she can't do the one that she must.
Yep.
She's a failure, or she feels this way. Okay. So let's start at the front. Do it a little perkier if you have the memorization for it on this particular speech. And I want to see few very abrupt transitions, which you're doing anyway, from window, Andy, baby, window, Andy, baby, window, Andy, baby, and go into them. Don't impress me. Don't impress Andy. Just do those things.
Okay.
All you need to do is them. Okay. Just do it one more time for just a minute or two.
Andy, what are you doing? Oh, you're reading. Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to see if the lamps were lit. Not lit. The carnival's tonight. The maid's all in a tizzy. You have to keep an eye on her to make sure that nothing happens, okay? You know, last night I was in the kitchen and I saw this candle burning, but still never figured out who did it. Olga and Irina are still out. Haven't come home yet. Those poor girls. All they do is work and work. Olga at the Board of Education, Irina at the postal office. You know, I told your sister, I said, Irina, you have to start taking care of yourself. But as you know, she never listens to me. I'm a bit worried about Bobik. He seems to be a little bit sick. Yesterday he was cold, but today he's warm all over.
Good. Oh, good. Sorry. Yeah. Can you just keep going? If I interject, I'm sorry. Unless I say stop, keep going.
Okay.
That was really good. Yeah. So you're just like, and don't worry about Andy so much. You're actually not talking to him. You're talking to yourself. Okay.
I'm a bit worried about Bobik. I think he may be a little bit sick. Yesterday he was cold, but today he's warm all over. I just get so worried.
Good. Change.
I'm just going to tell the people from the carnival that they can't come tonight. I told them to order you yogurt for supper.
Yeah.
Doctor says that if you don't eat your yogurt, you're not going to lose that weight. You know, when Bobik smiled at me and he laughed. Hello, Bobik. Hello, darling.
Beautiful.
You know, babies really, they know everything. They really do, Andy. The people from the carnival, they're not coming in. You know, maybe because Bobik's cold and he might catch a cold, we can move him into a separate room. Irina's room is perfect. Sun and warm, just until the weather comes. And then she can move in with Olga. And it doesn't even matter, she's not even here during the day anyway. She just sleeps here. Auntie? How come you never talk to me?
Beautiful. Oh yeah. Really great. Listen, Sasha, you did something that I didn't think of, which is you did this speech much better than I could. Because you made the sunshine that was going into Olga's room about the baby. And this is what I'm talking about. All roads lead to Rome. You come on with Bobik on your mind and you walk off with Bobik on your mind, because that's what you're in a panic about. You're not good enough for Bobik. You can't have a baby. You haven't earned a baby. And you're going to blow it. And so what you're going to do is make everybody pay. The servants and Olga and Andy and all these, right? And I really got some of that finally in that last little bit. You did really good work, really good physical work too. I love, again, these status moves physically. Again, I could have turned that last performance you gave, I could have turned the sound off. I would have gotten it. I would have seen exactly what was going on. You were concerned about this. You were deferring, you were covering over here, and you were finally taking the one person in the room in. That was great work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sasha. Okay, Michael, I'm going to bring in Riley. One of our students, Noah, fine young actor, wants to know With everything that you have to offer, does it ever really frustrate you that you get only hired by the industry to do comedy all the time?
Yes, yes, it does. That's actually what's his name who asked the question?
Noah.
Noah. Yes, it does. Noah. I often miss the days when I could do Chekhov. You know. Now listen, I can do Chekhov. I can just go and do a production of The Seagull somewhere. They'll have me, you know. It's just that my life has now worked out. I have kids, I got a house, I get, you know, dogs and things like that, that, you know, I have to live a regular life as a citizen. So it's very hard, you will find, past a certain age to stay in the same type of theater grind that you may have started in. And many theater actors I know who are my age have this problem. Eventually, you spread out your life as a citizen with spouses or significant others or children or dogs or things or other worries, and you have to balance it all. And film and television is going to be much easier. I have agents, you know, who are always on the ball. They know. I tell them. I say I'd like to do some drama. It generally works out that it's going to be an independent film, or it'll be a guest star on a drama. I do a lot of that. But would I like to do more? Yes, I would. I love comedy, and I think I'll toot my own horn for a second. I think the reason I'm good at comedy is because I treat it seriously. I do this. That's all I'm doing when I'm doing comedy. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to make you laugh. I'm just doing this column. That's it. It's very simple. Every comedic character has terrible, terrible needs, terrible trouble. The bigger the trouble, the funnier it is. You know? The more desperate the need, the funnier, the more you laugh. The more he is in process and not having answers, the funnier he is. It's just a whole Charlie Chaplin movie is just process. He's trying to get through a window and he can't. Right? It's not this. That's when he gets through the window. This is what you know. I'm so sorry, I lost the name, but the speech, you know, the burn, Tara, Daisy, you know, Daisy starts with this. It's very unusual. It's very hard to do. But that's the reason I have been a successful comedic actor, because I'm not a comedic actor. I'm just an actor. It's all the same stuff. I'll tell you a couple of small things. There are technical things that happen in comedy that are useful. Some of them I was trying to make Sasha do, and that's a drama. These are trade secrets. How many people are going to hear this? There are certain easy technical shortcuts for comedy. I'll give you one. No transition. Remove all transitions so that the process part becomes quite abrupt. Physically, you have to match it. You can't have a physical transition. So it's this and it's this, right? In a drama, it would be this and this, okay? All I did, that was a technical thing. I haven't cheated anything too much. I still have process because I'm doing it in my body, but it is the difference between this and this. It's two pictures. It's not, it's just photographs flipping through, okay? With the drama, you get 24 frames per second. This frame, 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 right? So that's a cheap trick. But if you're doing a comedy and a monologue, and I'd say if you're doing a drama too, you know, the Sasha's monologue, Natasha, actually has, Chekhov's a great comic writer. And he has written a comedy into this. It is a piece of comedy in its way. When she says, when she turns to Andy and says, why aren't you saying anything? It's because he can't get a word in edgewise. She's just going and going and going and going and going. It's funny. But what I was trying to get Sasha to move toward is this idea that she is not taking her transitions. She's playing 3 scenes at the same time all the time. And she's just going, but you on stage, you really can only do one thing at a time. So you flip quickly through them. And a great comic performance, you'll see flip, 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 right through. Happens in the Mozart character too.
Great. That's a great thing to take home. All right, let's bring in Riley Cummings. She's a 11th grader, sorry, from Integrated Arts. So Riley, come on in. Hello.
Hi, Riley.
Hello.
How
Hi.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you. Did we wake you up?
No,
Okay.
I've been.
What are you doing today, Riley?
I'm doing a monologue for Ashley from Dance Nation.
Okay.
And here's the other thing. I'm really freaking smart. I am. You know, I'm smarter than most people I meet, and I'm probably smarter than you. No, not that liberal arts bullshit. I'm good at math. Okay? People are like, lol, I'm bad at math. Okay, like that makes you cool? Because no, it doesn't. You suck at math, and that doesn't make you cool. Okay, and it's not that hard to be good at math. You know, the math section on the SAT is actually the easiest section. So if you just study, it's the most studyable section. So I guess you didn't study. And that doesn't make you cool. No, it just makes you lazy and short-sighted about your future. God, like math would not be that hard if you just tried. Like, are you people even trying? I'm bad at math. Shut up. Like, stop complaining and just look at the problem for a minute. Okay, it's not that hard. It's not like you're being asked to write a poem. Okay, there are rules. There's like an answer. Okay, I have 2 parents who wouldn't help me, and I still aced it because I'm not a moron. Anyway, I don't ever tell anybody this stuff because I'm afraid they're gonna hate me. You know, I think about it sometimes, and sometimes I just feel ashamed, like I'm a bad person. And, you know, I wish I could just bury it deep down and never acknowledge it. And, you know, just look down at my feet when people look at me and pretend I don't exist. It's like, okay, every time someone has ever told me I'm beautiful, I just say no. Like, there was this guy, and he said, "You're really beautiful." And I just said, no. Like, it's like a reflex, okay? You're beautiful. No. You're smart. No. You're funny. No. You're beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you. You're beautiful. Very interesting. A lot of the same issues in Daisy's speech, because there's a lot of conclusion or affirmations at the front of this speech, affirming things that we already know, or she already knows. Math is actually easier than, you know, these are beliefs that she has that she knows, and she's simply repeating them rather than finding them. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. Let's do this last paragraph. Anyway, I never say this stuff to anybody because I'm afraid that they're going to hate me. When you get to the part where you're beautiful, no, you're this, no, you're that, no, where you're working toward is take it literally. She says it's a reflex. So there's no thought in it. Be surprised that you can't say yes. Let the no's pour out of you too abruptly to change them. In other words, it's literally a reflex. You hit me with the hammer on the knee, my foot goes up. I can't help it. Now there's a problem. Then you go to the front of the speech and you play this problem right down to the bottom. Then you identify the problem. Then you get to the conclusion, right? In the meantime, you have to get there. You're going to show the audience how you're going to get to this place, which is a problem that you have. You have a need. You've got trouble. The problem is, I can't believe that I am a worthwhile person. I know myself to be a worthwhile. I know I am, but we're not talking about the intellect. We're talking about the emotions. If I had room on this stupid chart, I would write emotions and intellect. Because no matter how smart you are, you're definitely playing an emotion all the time. You can't escape it. And those no's that happen every time a person compliments you are simply out of your control. And you're tired of the trouble, tired of not being understood. And that's why you give me this speech. The example you're using is this math example. There's a prejudice. The speech is somewhat about prejudice. I'm a dancer, so I must be stupid. Well, if knowing, math makes you smarter, then I'm smart because I know math, so I'm clearly not stupid. You have to work through this in order to get the answers to the problem, which is you can't say, thank you. Thank you. You're smart. Thank you. You're beautiful. Thank you. I'll take it. 'Cause I am. You don't believe it. You don't have it. You got to get through all this first. So unfortunately, the speech, again, that's all I ever say, has to do this in order to earn any of these. Okay? So again, you're starting you're upside down in the speech like Daisy was. And it's not you, it's the writer. So I just want you to do the last paragraph. And what I want to see, if you can do it, again, an experiment, is literally have the problem of saying, this guy told me I was beautiful, show us what happened, and then what you did. And then someone else tries something else. No. And then another character tries something. No. You see the problem? I'm fucked. I can't figure it out. That's how, these are the stakes. Stakes is an overused word, but in this case, it's a good word. The speech appears to have low stakes because she knows everything. That's not a monologue. A monologue is not knowing. That's a good one. I have to write it up. Okay? Just give me the last bit of the speech. All discovery, all problem. Okay?
Anybody at this stuff because I'm afraid that they'll hate me, I think about it sometimes, and sometimes I feel ashamed. Like I'm
Oh, wait, stop just for a moment. I'm so sorry. Really good. I just want this is exactly right. Find these things more. Ashamed is a word you're ashamed to say, okay? It's hard. It's hard to live this way. It's hard, okay? All of this is hard at the bottom. The front of the speech, quite easy. The bottom of the speech, not easy, okay? Really good, Riley. That was much better, though. Go.
I don't say these things to anybody because I'm afraid that they'll hate me.
Yes.
You know, I think about it sometimes, and sometimes I feel ashamed.
Yes.
I'm a bad person. You know, I just want it to go deep down and never acknowledge it. You know, I want to look at the pavement when people look at me and pretend I don't exist.
Demonstrate.
Like every time someone says I'm beautiful, I just say no. Like there was this guy and he said,
Be him.
really beautiful. I just said, no. It's like a reflex. You're beautiful. No. You're smart. No. You're funny. No. You're beautiful.
Yeah, great, Riley. I'm going to make you do it one more time. I'm so happy. This time, this is a bit of a technical thing, an acting thing. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're happy. Literally see if you can actually interrupt yourself. The no's are coming from somewhere else. They're not coming from inside of you. They're coming from another place that you can't control them. You're in a panic. How do you make it stop? Okay? One more time. That was really good.
From like the top. Okay.
Yeah, no, just
Hey, Riley, it's Mrs. Lopez. Can you scooch close to your computer? We're losing you a little bit when you move. So I think that'll help with the microphone, love. You're doing great. All right.
Thank
that
you.
was great, Riley. Same thing, just the end of the speech. Let the no's come from outside of you. You have no control over them. You don't even know when they're coming. But they come and they're flat. No. Okay?
I never say this stuff to anybody because I'm afraid that they're going to hate me. You know, I think about it sometimes, and sometimes I feel ashamed. Like I'm a bad person. And I just want to dig it deep down and never acknowledge it. You know, just look at the pavement when people are looking at me and pretend I don't exist. You know, it's like anytime anyone has ever told me I'm beautiful, I just say no. There was this guy and he said, "You're really beautiful." And I just said, no. Like, no. You're smart, no. You're funny, no. You're beautiful.
Perfect. Love it. Fantastic, Riley. It was really, really good. Thank you.
Excellent. Hey, Michael, real quick, are we going till 4:15 or 4? Do you have
We can do 4. It depends on the questions. We can do 4:15. It's fine.
Okay, we have one more student. Riley, great job, love. We have one more student that was on standby to do a monologue that I'm sure would love to go.
Yeah.
But I have a student who asked a question in the chat that I'm going to ask real quick. So this is from Max.
Yeah.
And he says, was there ever a time when you filmed a movie or a scene and you instantly had a feeling that you know it would become popular?
Interesting. Well, you know, what's the guy who asked?
Max.
Max, yeah.
I've done a couple of scenes in my day, not too many, but some that have gotten a sort of life of their own. I'm very often, in a grocery store or something, and somebody will, look across me from the produce aisle and go, there's Gary on the kick drum. Hey, Gary. There's a couple, or some of the things I've done in Best in Show, or people will quote me every now and then. I'd say as a general rule, these are almost never the scenes that I was hoping would, or that I thought would catch on. I'm always surprised by what catches on, and it's impossible to explain it. I would say that media has control of that to some extent, because people make memes or they share clips or something like that, and they're not necessarily looking for the thing that's funniest, but the thing that is most apt. Like if I go like this in a movie and suddenly, oh, that's what people use to mean, oh, I'm horrified or something like that, and put it on a meme or something. That stuff is not controllable. But I do remember, for instance, but there's a general rule too. It's like, especially in a comedy, if it's really funny on the set, it goes right into the toilet on the screen. Like it's terrible, you know. And you ask any comedic actor, they'll tell you something like that. And also, if it's awful on the set, somehow it works great. It's just hilarious, you know. And sometimes it's funny on the set and it's funny in the theater as well. But for instance, the scene I was just mentioning from The Breakup, which I get quoted at a lot, you know, there's Gary on the kick drum. I don't even, maybe you're too young for that stuff, movie, but it's a scene that I did. It was an expensive movie, so there was lots of time to shoot the scene. Not good for comedy. Comedy doesn't want time. It doesn't want fancy sets. It doesn't want CGI. It doesn't want money. It wants trouble. It wants, and that's what works in comedy. If it doesn't work on folding chairs, it isn't funny. If you don't laugh when people are doing it in the folding chair, it's not going to work no matter how much CGI or money you throw at it. And that also means paying famous actors to be in it. That will not make it funny. So I'm on this, there I am on the set of The Breakup. We're shooting in Chicago many years ago. It's a table scene, which is a nightmare in film, because a table scene means I got whatever there was, 6, 8 people around that table. 2 big stars on one end of the table is Jennifer Aniston, Vince Vaughn. The cameras are very much attracted to them because that's where the money is. I'm the kamikaze scene stealer. That's what I'm hired to do. And it should have been shot, you know, ideally in a morning. But because it's a table scene, you have to shoot all the time, just all day long, all the time. For 3 days, I shot that scene. And it's disastrous for comedy, particularly improvisational comedy, which is what this was. I made the whole thing up on the spot. And I was in a position which the audience would never understand, or care about, which is that I had to keep 8 actors interested in one little scene that takes, I don't even know how long it is in the movie, 4 minutes? That's long for a movie. I had to keep 8 actors in Chicago on a soundstage happy and interested for 3 days with the same material. They had to be delighted or interested or horrified or whatever they were. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, because they should have just locked it after the first take. I did an improv, it was fine, it was funny, moving on. No, moving on to day 2 and day 3. And I thought that it would be a disaster because it exhausted me. It was really unpleasant. And I thought, believe me, I was going back to my hotel and I was thinking, this is too hard. This job is too hard. I'm going to do something else. I'll teach, you know. And I got through it. And I was shocked to find that the scene caught on with the public. because I was convinced that the scene would look tired and beat up, which is the way I was feeling. So you never know.
I have to say, I think it's the best scene in the movie. I love that scene.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank
It's
you.
hysterical.
I hated doing it. It almost killed me.
Kids, if you haven't seen it, even just see that scene. It's very funny. It's interesting that it took 3 days to shoot. My goodness.
Oh,
All that coverage.
Right? Yikes.
oh. And comedy hates coverage. It sucks. You don't need coverage. Go watch something really funny. You watch a Best in Show or something. Very little coverage. We don't have time for coverage. We just a two-shot. The two people are in the space. And this goes back to what I was saying before. It's a body in space. The audience needs to see bodies in space so they can make sense of things, particularly in comedy. And one of the big distinctions, and this is a dangerous one, I might get in trouble with your teachers. What I wrote is, hold on, there it is. Relationships versus characters. We need to see much better to watch a relationship happen than an expression of character. Because finally, that's what the audience does all day long in their real lives. You say, oh, that guy's a character, he's a pain in the ass, oh, she's so funny, etc. And these are almost ways of dismissing people to make them into a character. When you watch them in a relationship, then you recognize them. More importantly, you recognize yourself. Great dramas are about relationships that are changing, usually along status lines, almost always. And character is simply the canoe which runs the rapids. I will get pushback from that because an actor must play a character. But finally, in a drama, a good drama at least, the relationship that's set up will define the character. The character will evince out of the situation. Drama is situation and problem. It's not as much character. Intellectually, at the end, you say, oh, Hamlet represents this. Oedipus had this problem. That makes him an interesting metaphor or a character. But finally, if you're in the audience sitting in the chair, you are wondering what Oedipus will do. What will it push him to do? Okay?
Mhm.
It's not who he is. It's what he has to do. Do, act, actor, not describer, not ideator, no intellect, physical. What do you see? What happens? Where's the air moving? The reason I prefer stage to film and television, much prefer, is because when I'm standing on stage, I control time, I control space. I don't control either one of those things in film and television. The editor does. It's an editor's medium. Stage is an actor's medium, or actors, I'd say with an S, actors in relation to each other. Monologues are very rare in great dramas. I'm not talking about a soliloquy. Oh, a soliloquy is a monologue that is understood to be internal, even though he's talking out loud to the audience. It's a signal to the audience. I'm actually thinking all this, but I'm going to say it out loud for you because you're sitting here. You wouldn't be able to hear. Monologues are unusual. The Natasha monologue that we just watched is not a monologue. It's very much a two-person scene, very much a two-person scene. One person's not talking. That's all. It doesn't mean anything. He's as there as she is. He's the reason she's talking. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. Yeah.
Along those lines, there's a question here from one of our great young actresses, Lauren May. she was asking, and this is related to what you were just saying. In theater, you get to rehearse everything and find everything and polish everything. But in film and TV, so many things just happen. And you have worked with so many like big time funny people like Chris Guest and Jim Carrey and Steve Carell. Do all those things just happen in front of the camera? How do those comedic moments come about?
Very good question. Every job is its own thing. Every job on stage, on film, television, requires its own method. You've learned in your conservatories about Stanislavski or the Actor Studio, various theories and methods that actors have used to unlock puzzles, to present narratives. And some of them work better with one play than another. You know, the Stanislavski stuff works wonderfully with Chekhov. It doesn't work great with Beckett. So all cases are special cases. So if I'm doing a scene with Jim Carrey, he and I, you know, Jim has a brand. He's going to be doing this thing. He's hired to do that. We expect this from Jim Carrey. And I am mostly there to support him. If your question is talking a little bit about like working with people who are well known or famous people, they generally have brands that they need to protect. Mm-hmm. I have been hired sort of like a plumber. Says, go install a bathroom in my living room. It's not my job to say, you shouldn't put a bathroom in your living room. It's a terrible idea. Yeah, well, that's where you're going to build it. So build it in the living room, plumber. That's my job. So what I do is I'm showing up on the set with Jim or Steve or famous people, and I'm in a business. I'm trying to enhance their brand. I wouldn't be there unless their brand were successful and it needs to get more income. I'm there to get the studio's income online this year. So I have to deliver their brand to them. So I'm in a support position to Jim. Now, if I'm working with Jim Carrey or any of those guys, Steve or Vince Vaughn, they wanted me because they know that I'm going to come in, I'm a good improviser, and I will probably be able to push them into strange places for them where they can find comedies that work for their brand. Mm. Right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things I love about doing a Chris Guest film is that I'm my own boss. And Chris would tell you that too. Chris is an unusual character because he walks the walk. Every director in town says, I'm an actor's director. They took an acting class. They can spout all this bullshit. And that makes them an actor's director. It doesn't, because they never give the actor any responsibility. Christopher gives all responsibility to the actor. I remember I was working on the first thing I did with him. And I was like, it would be great if I could have this in the office where my character has an office. And he's like, tell the designer, don't talk to me. And it's like, well, what? And he says, well, what am I wearing in this scene? And he says, I don't know. What are you wearing? You're the character. I don't know. You're making this character. I'm not making this character. Figure it out. You know, he's got a story thing that, I have to serve, but so he'll just send me to the department. I'll go to the wardrobe person and say, I would love it if it's like, if I'm wearing blue, because then he said, great, well, we'll put you in blue. This is very unusual. You should be so lucky to have a job like this. I have been very lucky. I have these jobs, a few of them. Mm-hmm. This is not the normal situation for me. My daily work is I'm a plumber. I'm there to help solve problems that directors have. Or producers. I have to deliver. I have to get the ball into the end zone for them. That's why they hired me, because I'm a good bet. I did it on the last one. The only reason they hire me is that I'm a safe hire. No one's going to get fired if they hire me because I deliver. You don't have to deliver spectacularly. I'm a character actor. I just have to get it into the end zone, right? Generally, I'm just doing this. I put my head down and I do this. And strangely, because a lot of actors lose this as they get off the stage and into the film and television, they start losing all this. My stuff looks different. It looks better and it gets into the end zone. It's because I started on the stage. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So when you're thrown things on the set, you're not distracted or you don't lose your way of working. You just adapt.
No, you make a relationship with problems, with failure. If they throw something to me on the set, I say, I'm enlivened by the problem. That's what I'm doing. It's what I do for a living. I show problems. That's what I do. I struggle in front of people. It's my job. Right?
Can I jump in? There's a couple, the kids are like filling up the chat, which is so great because we're so appreciative of all this information. There's a question, and I like this. I think as an educator and a teacher, it'd be great to hear, did you have any mentors that you looked up to or you had throughout your acting career?
Yes, very much so. None of them you know. I've worked with a few famous people that I walked away from feeling like something had been added to me, but it's rare. The people that I carry with me in all my work, that I carry with me right now as a person, were certain actors that I worked with when I was young. And partly it was because I was young. You all are at an age where many things are still new and you can make them your own, you can incorporate them and make them your own as opposed to affirming them or things that you already know. It doesn't play on stage and it doesn't play great in life either. This does. And some of them were, one of them was a mime, back to that, sorry, who I think had a profound influence on me. Because this is a person, and this is not a white-faced mime following people at the zoo. It was a silent storyteller. And there was no story, there was no subtlety that he couldn't do non-verbally. There was no story he could not tell without speaking. It was a profound thing to watch him and to pray that I could one day do something like that. And then I was just absorbing when he was working. He's very humble. He would be appalled to hear me speaking like this. But he was a mime. The other, I had certain idols, strangely screen idols who are probably not the usual ones, but and it's funny when I look at it, it's people like, some of them aren't even real. Daffy Duck. It sounds like a joke. I know it's terrible, but Daffy Duck is a profoundly great actor because it's nothing but this. All of it. Everything is a revelation of the worst things inside him. He's constantly roiling with problems, constantly trying to solve them and failing. It's really true if you watch a character or the coyote, for instance, in the Roadrunner. Life is hard. And there's an enormous amount of comedy to be found in it because it's hard, and a lot of drama as well. So a lot of the stuff I was watching, I think the answer partly is Chuck Jones, who's the director, one of the directors of Bugs Bunny, who made comedy for me a kind of science. He knows somehow that it's funny if Bugs Bunny raises his eyebrow for 24 frames, but it's not funny if he raises them for 25 frames. You following me? It's comedy can work like a science in some way. Drama doesn't work as well that way. It's a little cheated and the audience can smell it. But comedy, the audience kind of welcomes that type of science in a way, as long as this is happening as well. So I would say, strangely, my big influences would be silent clowns, Harold Lloyd in particular. He was an actor in the 20s. And the great actors to me personally were some of the big English actors from the 40s and 50s. Richard Burton, he was a little later. Richardson, those guys. Olivier.
The classics.
Yeah. I mean, because I was doing classics, so I'd say, well, how did Olivier do it? And I watch him, and I say, well, Jesus, I can't do that. It's ridiculous. But I watch him, and I try to do it in the car, or try to do it in the mirror or something. I just say, can I speak that fast and be that clear? Let me try.
Great.
Hey, John, do you have any other site? I have a handful that I can ask. I know that kids are probably messaging you privately as well. Do you have any in particular that you want to ask before we?
Well, one that is recurring, and this is probably tough, but I see it 3 or 4 times. Do you have a favorite project that you worked on, and why? I know that's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, the answers would be disappointing because they were on stage, and no one saw them. You certainly didn't see them, and that's the nature of stage. It makes stage very special because it's literally special. Not a lot of people saw it. It's not out on the internet. You can't call it up on YouTube. It's private in a way between you and the audience. The thing I miss about the stage, and I will do the stage, I do it. I direct sometimes, and I do it every now and then. I get on stage.
Good.
I know, but
I saw you in that David Hare play a few years ago, and I'll never forget it. That was
that was cool.
Yeah, wonderful, and very challenging material.
Yeah, very challenging, because there's a lot of this. There's a lot we already know. So the audience has to be put into this column. They have to be unknowing, even though we know what happens. So, but the thing about the stage that is not replaceable as an actor for me, I told you, I control time and space. That's important. It's always a dialogue between you and the audience. You feel them intimately. Audiences think they can't be seen and they can't be heard. That's why they open their wrappers and why they, spread out in their seat, and actors. When I'm on stage, it's a kind of state of hypnosis, actually. It's heightened awareness because I'm heightened awareness on stage with my colleagues. We have to be listening and holding each other very carefully, having to see the smallest clues that might change Tuesday night's performance into Wednesday night's performance, which is entirely different. For the audience, it would be a 2% change. But for the people on stage, from Tuesday to Wednesday, you guys have been in performances. It's a 90% change. The audience wasn't laughing. I couldn't get it going. I did it at, X was being terrible. Y couldn't remember his lines.
Well, we're all really missing that right now, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. It's terrible. But anyway, I miss having the dialogue with the audience. Even though like in Sasha's scene, the audience doesn't speak, but boy, are they there.
Yeah.
They're pushing me around like you can't believe.
Right. And you might not feel it, but you have 220 people who are madly in love with you right now. So we're just about at the end of our time, Michael. So I want to say thank you, and I want to give you a chance to say any last couple of words you want to say to a couple hundred kids who are never going to forget this day. So it's all yours.
Well, I am humbled. I'm gonna cry every day that I am permitted to be an actor. That somehow it worked out that I can live this way and tell stories and engage with life in a sort of heightened way, where everything around me, all of it, is there for my taking, for my processing, to incorporate things, process them, and give them away. It's such an honor to be an artist in this type of society which is much more less tolerant of these sorts of communications.
Mm-hmm.
It's a struggle, but we desperately need it. We need you to do this, even if you don't do it professionally, even if you turn into an accountant. But you have this thing in you that it's a roiling narrative that can be released and strung together for someone else's happiness or joy or edification. And it's a gift. It's a lovely, lovely gift to have. And I just watched the five of you do your monologues, and it's very moving for me. I was a young actor. I was just like you, trying to work it out. And can I do this? And how did that person do that? Or how did they make me feel? Can I make people feel? And I guess the big secret to it is your vulnerability, your openness. Whether you're doing any of the scenes that we just saw, it's an openness to let things push you around. It's scary. It's not a natural. Actors do something that is very unnatural. They don't protect themselves from life.
Mm-hmm.
They make a relationship with it. They're enlivened by issues, problems, and they communicate them for the audience so the audience can be purged of them. That's what Greek drama is. You feel this way, you watch this, you say, that's me. And then there's a little release for you. Someone else is doing it. Someone else has the problem, right? Mm-hmm. And we do that for people. It's great for us, but finally it's not for us, it's for someone else. It's not therapy that I do. It's enacting, it's communication, and for someone else. And on a good day, I can remember that, or I can feel it. And I think I've done something good with my life, and I hope that you will too. I really do. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to do. And I hope, I wish all of you so much love and luck, because you'll need some of that too. But hard work will do a lot. It will do a lot. And real work, let it happen. Let it push you around. Be in a vulnerable state at work. It's the wrong thing to do if you work at a dentist office, but it's the right thing to do always if you work on a set or on a stage.
Right.
Let it affect you. Let it happen. Take it in. Listen. You'll be surprised at what your reactions are. Your reactions will surprise you, and they should. So,
Great.
bless you all.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Can we unmute everybody and just cheer a little bit? Is that cool?
Yeah.
Woohoo, yeah.
Oh my god.
Awesome.
Yay.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So
Thank you so much. Bye.
So much, Mr.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you. Are we
you.
leaving yet?
Thank
Thank you so much.
All right. Great job, Michael. That was wonderful.
Hey,
Thank
John.
you.
Oh my gosh, that was
Thank you.
fabulous. Those
Great.
kids,
Oh,
they're on
good.
cloud 9 right now. That was awesome.
Well, I'll make you promise that when this stupid pandemic is over, that I can do it in person with actual people in the room. It's
got
very hard to do this virtually because
Oh, you did fabulous.
it doesn't
That was
want
magical. That was amazing.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, it'll be like The Godfather. We'll keep pulling you back in.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you back.
Listen, those kids are beautiful. They're great. I loved it. It really was. I want to thank you like I said just now, for giving me the opportunity to watch like these young people do this. It's as clearly I was very moved at the end, but it really is profoundly moving for me because I was there, before I was them. And they were doing exactly what I said actors do. They were doing it to me.
Yeah.
And I recognize myself there, and they're beautiful. They're just lovely.
You probably remember a day when some big movie star came to your acting school and talked, and you felt how they felt today.
I
And
did.
never forgot that.
I did. They can be big, those moments, I remember them.
They're life changers.
Yeah.
And they're side chatting. Just thank you so much for this opportunity, Mrs. Lopez. This is so wonderful. Like they're so appreciative. So appreciative.
I'm
Thank you
so
so
glad.
much.
Thank
And
you
we
very
are
much.
too.
Well, thank you all very much. You made this very easy, and I had my doubts. It just seems like it's just like I need people in front. I need to feel the energy between people to like remember what acting is supposed to do anyway. But
Welcome to our current world, man. That's how every day teaching. I need my people.
oh my God, teachers! It must be impossible. Impossible.
I think you could have done 5 hours and we could have served a meal.
The Mahabharata of master classes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll look forward to next
Thank
time.
you, everybody.